So how are you doing? Has it been a good day?
Very good day, yeah. Almost sold out.
It
so.
looks like that, yeah. Not much flowers left, no.
No, but I made something for Emma. This one.
She says hello, by the way, so that's very kind of you. Thank you. Wow, look at that. What a...
Something.
Yes.
Yeah, with the most colourful things I had.
They look nice. Thank you.
Yeah, look at that. Nice blossom.
Blossom there, yes.
Yeah, opens up slowly.
And spring unfolds. A good companion as spring
yeah.
unfolds in the next few weeks. All right, well, I'll let you finish up here.
I need
Maybe
to just basically
take your time. I'm early anyway, so I can get a coffee. Would you like a coffee? As we're here at Cable Bakery, where you're set up.
Yeah.
Yes, on a Friday.
They make the nicest coffee, so why not? You treat yourself.
And what kind of coffee would you like?
I will have a flat white.
A flat white. Okay. Flat white coming up.
Sweet.
Welcome to Marriott Side Trips, the travel podcast show sharing real life stories from all corners of the globe. Because after visiting more than 50 countries and making new friends along the way, I've discovered people are rarely ordinary. But with travel being a bit tricky of late, I've been forced to get to know my backyard, London, a bit better. Which of course isn't a bad thing, especially as I haven't always been the best of Londoners with being away a lot. So for the first season I've been meeting who you might call the butcher, the baker and the candlestick maker, those London traders who've been keeping local London ticking over during the numerous lockdowns. I recently caught up with florist Roksana, aka Roka of RokaBringsFlowers at the end of her working day in Kennington, South London, and I learned more about her mobile, pedal power flower store which she set up during the lockdown last year. We talked about finding her passion for floristry and inspiration to set up a business after being furloughed, coming to London and finding her tribe, flowers of course, and growing tulips in South London amongst other things. I'm Stephen Marriott, best-selling author, traveller and now podcaster. Today's episode is dedicated to Tiggs, who loved flowers.
Okay, hello Roksana, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you, Stephen?
I'm very good, yes, and happy to be learning a bit about your flower business and meeting you here at Cable Bakery, where you've had your stall on a Friday. So why don't you tell us who you are and what you do, a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Roka and I bring flowers. So I'm RokaBringsFlowers.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honour.
Podcast. Yeah, so this is who I am. This is what I do.
But you bring flowers on a bike.
On a bike.
So that's a bit different. So were you up early this morning on your bike to Covent Garden, the new Covent Garden, which I think that's where you get your flowers from.
That's correct. Yes, so I try to wake up at 6 o'clock.
Early start?
Early start. I like that because it's much easier to travel on a bike when nobody's on the road. Mm-hmm. So I actually quite like that. Now, obviously, the days are a bit longer, but over the winter, it was quite nice to wake up when the sun wakes up as well. So that was always beautiful, like an additional kind of a bonus of that trip. Yes. So so I live in Camberwell, so I go straight through New Camberwell Road via Vauxhall down to 9 Elms to New Covent Garden. Okay. So yeah, it takes me only 20 minutes.
Oh,
that's a nice
good
ride. So yeah, it's quite important to leave earlier before all this terrible traffic starts. So today I allowed myself to leave half an hour later because I came to Cable Caffe the night before to bring my heavy stuff. Okay. I call it a heavy stuff. Yes. So it's the stool, basically, the foldable stool, which I built after the first lockdown when I started trading. Mm-hmm. So I brought everything here last night and I filled my buckets with water so I could leave half an hour later this morning. But that
had a little lie-in then this morning.
Yeah, I did, but I was regretting straight away as soon as I left the house because the roads were much busier and it was not as enjoyable. Yes. It's nice to be just there with the birds, basically.
And I'm getting this nice atmospheric sense to the start of your day when you're doing this then. Normally, apart from today when there was more traffic.
Yeah, I must say, it's never easy for me. I'm like that sort of person which likes to have a lie-in and I appreciate a good sleep. I try to go to sleep before midnight.
But you're a little bit of a night owl.
Well, not at the moment, but yeah, I do always find myself finding some occupation at home anyway. But yeah, it's very important for me to have a good sleep because the whole day is quite active. So I need to make sure I'm well rested and I'm in a good mood because like I'm outside,
and
so
you're still smiling even at the end of the day, so that's positive.
Yeah, well, I guess I have.
Working.
Yeah, I think the half an hour in the morning helped. Yeah, also it's just like you use lots of energy, not just because you are traveling on your bike and you bring things in and out. It's also like I'm standing outside, and now it's not fully spring yet.
No, it's a little bit chilly today.
It's been chilly, yeah. So I guess that takes lots of energy as well. But being outside of Cable Bakery has another bonus. Like guys here are taking good care of me and always keep me warm with some nice coffee, and I like being here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on a Saturday I'm outside at the farmers market in Camberwell Green, which I absolutely love as well, because this is where I live and I meet my neighbours, and I have like a lovely community of regulars. Like Camberwell people are very, very loyal, and once they know you, they come back. Okay. So I've learned that there are no risks with Camberwell. Like no matter how much I bring, I always sell it, which is brilliant. So yeah, that allows me to go to the market, get as much as I can carry on my bike, and then sell everything
and
on a day.
And it's the people at or the locals which go to Camberwell Market on the Saturday. Do they tend to be a different kind of customers to the customers you get outside Cable Bakery here?
Well, I would say in Camberwell, I get my local people who are very precise about their journey. They come to the market because they always do it. Okay. So there is not many of accidents, you know what I mean? People just kind of go there intentionally. Mm-hmm. Where at Cable, very often I feel like I'm meeting new customers every Friday, because people sometimes just stop by for a coffee and they see the flower stall on a Friday and they get tempted and get the flowers because I'm just right in front of them. Which is always nice, because then you just develop, new relationships with your customers. And if I'm lucky, they come back, and it happened in the past, so that's great. Yeah. So
does that mean that it's a mixture of different kinds of people which come here then, in that sense, if it's new people passing by, or is it just people who happen to be who live in the neighbourhood? Or?
Yeah, there's not. Well, at Cable Caffe, I would say people just know about the coffee shop and the bakery, so they come here for the essentials, and then they realise, there are also flowers. So very often they ask me, have you been here for long? And I'm like, yeah, I've been here almost for a year. So some of the people just say, I come here quite regularly, but on a Tuesday, so I never seen you before. So they decide to come on a Friday instead. So that's quite nice.
Oh, that's nice,
and, so in terms of customers, I feel like I have more regulars at Camberwell, but then it's quite sweet, because today, for example, there was a lady who travelled from Camberwell to Kennington to see me, because she said she can't come tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I know there are certain people who will still travel to get the flowers, which is, really encouraging.
So you definitely got some regular customers
then. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. At Cable, I think I would have, I don't know, maybe 30 people who would always pop by and wanted flowers, as well as the coffee. So that's quite nice. And then, other people who just discover me, kind of, and then I discover them. So this is how it works. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And just quickly going back to New Covent Garden, what's this kind of atmosphere like that on a morning? I mean, do you brush shoulders with other florists and traders, or is everybody still half asleep still and just getting on with things and not too sociable?
Okay, it's slightly different right now, because obviously it's a lockdown, so New Covent Garden is officially closed. You can go and collect your things as long as you pre-order them.
So it's a kind of click and collect system
at the moment, which works.
Yes.
I can stay open outside, which is obviously very, very helpful, but I found it quite difficult, and not just me, I think all the traders find it difficult, including the people who sell flowers to me and the people who sell flowers, doing their floristry work, because it's a different story, pre-lockdown, you could just walk in and there was much more competitive vibe,
Yes.
You could see different flowers on different stalls, and you could like find out what the price. And sometimes I go to the market thinking I know what I want, but then I spot something which totally inspires me, and then I start building all the stall around that particular either colour or.
So you have an opportunity to be a bit more creative when you're going, and obviously get a bit more the spur of the moment.
Yeah, I think I really miss that because I always try to bring seasonal flowers, but also I try to vary as well my stock.
Okay.
Like it's never nice when you just always see the same things. During, let's say, in the autumn, if you had chrysanthemum, because that was like a main flower,
right,
at least you knew you can get different colours of chrysanthemum or different variety, different shapes.
In the autumn.
Yeah, so you would still get the chrysanthemums because they are, long-lasting and they're beautiful flowers, but you would get like different either colours or shapes. So I was trying to keep that, like, my customers more excited about the stuff, and I guess people appreciated that. Now, I try my best to like get the variation, but it's a bit more limiting. Also, because the market is closed, less people is coming, so my wholesalers also don't have as much in stock as normally.
Right.
So everyone kind of suffers, but everyone tries to be as flexible as possible and like just stay in the game, So we are hoping that in the April everything will change.
Fingers crossed.
And we're back to
wood.
this. Yes. And it's really nice at the market actually. There are days where I struggle with waking up, but knowing that I go to the wholesalers I really like and believe in what I do, and they give you a little. I don't know, like a good word in the morning, like, say something or drop a little joke or something that really improves my mood.
Wake up and smell the flowers as opposed to coffee.
Exactly, yeah. It's a good beginning of the day, definitely.
That's really a nice image. Obviously, as you say, it hopefully returning to that from April. Because obviously when you see flowers, you think of beauty, and you see nice, in traditional florist shops, flower displays and things. But you look at the beauty of the flower in its own right. But someone like me as a customer would not think that you're being creative. At the very start of the day when you're looking at the flowers, okay, you have in mind what you want, but there's an opportunity to be creative, or maybe there's some new flowers which you didn't know about, which a wholesaler had brought. So that's a nice image of the sort of little story behind the flowers. Really.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be creative when you are choosing the flowers, because I mean, if you have a big flower shop, maybe you can afford buying like everything you see, right? I'm quite limited with what I get because obviously I'm traveling on my bike and I have a trolley which is quite big.
It looks quite big, but obviously, you still got to.
Yeah,
it still limits you.
Yeah, I mean, I come up with this idea of like getting boxes right now. So I've got quite long boxes which 80 centimeters long.
Okay.
And I have 4 of them. So I can actually bring more these days.
So you stack them on top of each other because the flowers obviously are like flat, I guess.
So they are flat, they are nicely supported inside because they are nicely packed as well. But yeah, again, like it's still not like, I don't have as much space as people have in a van, for example.
Yes.
So I need to be very, very, very careful with what I buy. So I need to think of what goes together. I need to make sure that all the flowers I buy, I can combine and they look lovely together. So I usually go for, I keep it simple. So I usually go into 2 directions. Like I go into something like kind of subtle and pale and, soft. Okay. And then more deep colors as well on a side. So I usually try to give a bit of like choice for the customers, but also keeping it kind of, compact. So I always say this is like, if you're traveling and you've got the experience with that, you need to pack in a way that, you take those clothes which go together, like
yes.
you know, like you don't want to take everything.
No.
You don't want to take one thing. You know, you take like 3 things, let's say, which you can vary, and like wash the other one while you're waiting the second
exactly.
one.
Yeah.
So I just feel like so it's for me it's like traveling. We are traveling, right? I'm traveling to the Covent Garden, bringing things, and there's the same sort of logic behind that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your sort of your core and sort of ones that blend well. Then I guess.
Well, the thing is with my the nature of my flower store, I'm outside.
Yes.
So whatever the weather, you know, I need to have the flowers which are gonna survive. Mm-hmm. So firstly, I'm traveling, so I need to have some kind of hardy flowers. You know, I do love the beautiful soft flowers, but you can only afford those when you have a flower shop. So they can like stay indoors. Yes. And if it's raining, they won't be damaged.
Yes.
You know, I need to always check the weather. If it's a full sun, I know certain flowers won't survive. They will open very quickly, like roses.
Interesting.
When it's raining, I know like hydrangeas would love that rain.
Yes.
It would actually, you know, they would appreciate that, and they would stay, you know, fresh longer. But again, if I had roses in a rain day, that would damage the petals. You know, they would mark them. So I need to be kind of careful with that as well. But yeah, I feel like over the last few months I've learned what works, what doesn't. So you know,
interesting. Well, it's well, obviously you have to be flexible outdoors, but flexible period, as you say, in terms of lockdowns and things, which is I find really interesting when I'm starting to interview smaller businesses and how they've been adapting. But I also wanted just to bring in the fact that you're originally from Poland. I can't say Poland properly now.
Yeah.
Poland. And was it always on the cards that you would, well, A, come to London and then B, be a florist?
So starting with A, no.
Okay.
I never thought that I will end up in London. I had friends who were always obsessed with London and always wanted to come here because they were big fans of, like, I don't know, the Beatles or Amy Winehouse or, you know, like music, all the English culture, you know, I don't know, people obsessed with Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that.
Yes.
I'm not saying I don't like those things.
No.
I do love the music and the culture, but
you weren't obsessed.
When I was growing, well, I guess I was always drawn to like warmer countries.
Well, I can understand that coming from Poland and then coming to the UK.
Coming back, yeah, exactly. My background is like, you know, we have 4 seasons, which is brilliant. They're very visible. When it's winter, you know it's winter. It's snowing. When it's summer, it's quite hot. And I guess before I moved to London, I lived in Italy a little bit. So when I visited London for the first time, I was actually living in Genoa at the time. So
so on the coast, yeah.
So that was on the coast, and the weather was stunning. And I came to London to visit, and I just couldn't understand how on earth people could live here because it was so grey and rainy, and it wasn't very, very like, you know, inviting. But yeah, this is the mystery. I ended up living here, and I fell in love with England, and I feel very comfortable here. And you know, I live in Camberwell, where, you know, I feel very welcomed, and I feel at home there. So I don't know, I just feel I can't imagine living anywhere else at the moment. But I guess, you know, you're gonna be open to any possibilities, so we never know where I'm gonna end up in the end. But yeah, for the time being, I'm very happy here. Yeah.
And so you weren't a florist before then?
B.
Yes.
Okay. I think that the floristry was always with me, because from a very early stage of my life, my mum would always take me to the markets where we were buying plants. And then she would always take me to the flower shops. Where
Sorry, what part of Poland was that?
This is
that you grew up?
Northern part of Poland. So it's called Kaszubia. That part is like full of lakes and lovely valleys, and it's very green and beautiful. But yeah, so my mother would take me to the flower shops quite often. And if we wouldn't go to the flower shop, she would grow her own flowers in a garden. So I always felt like I was taking part, like if not watching somebody putting flowers together, I was like helping my mom to put the flowers together.
Yes.
You know, the flowers she's been growing, like beautiful peonies or stuff like that, or roses. So I felt like it was just very natural for me, like being in that sort of an environment. And I think when I was 4 years old, I kept calling myself Matka Kwiatów, which means like the mother of flowers.
Okay.
My mom always teased me about that. Like, I don't think that was my plan that I will become a florist, but
you were drawn to flowers.
Yeah,
then.
definitely. And I remember being always intrigued by my neighbour who used to grow tulips as well.
Okay.
So as a child, I was always like having a pick, you know, looking at this like polytunnels and seeing the flowers. I loved it. And then my parents were friends with florists as well. We had few friends who were florists, and I remember my dad would always like, doesn't matter what was the time of the day or night, he would like, if he needed flowers, he would like ring the bell and they would make something beautiful for him. And he would used to bring home lilies.
Oh, how nice.
Because my mum's name is Lydia, so
Lily.
Yes. So yeah, that was like his thing. The other story was that he would bring tulips to my mum when he was chasing her up. But
he sounds quite a romantic, your dad.
Yeah. So I guess the flowers were always a part of our existence, and so that was just the background. But then I never thought of becoming a florist. I was like doing other things. I thought I will become a singer, so I loved singing.
Well, I know you're quite creative as well, which obviously ties in with floristry.
Yeah, so this is the whole thing. Like, I came to London because I got in touch with a person who was a director of animations, but then we got in touch for the particular project we were making music together. So that's why I moved to London. That was like a pure coincidence. I used to work and live in Italy, and we met via like film festival I worked at. But then we come up with this idea of becoming a band. So we've been recording music. I used to come to London to make music, then when I finished my studying, I've decided to like just be open for the adventure, and I moved to London for that reason. Yes. But then, you know, it's one of those where you're like, you need to pay your bills. Well,
it's definitely in London, most certainly, with the rent.
So I started as a young person, started to work in a coffee shop, and that was very beautiful. That was Scooter Caffe.
That was Scooter Caffe, how I originally know you from when we were next door.
Exactly. Where Emma used to run this bookshop.
Yes, travelling through. So we were neighbours, and that was so beautiful. Like, I feel like that was one of the most important times of my life, where I met lots of people and, you know, made all my long-lasting friendships, which are, you know, through the it's very the staff, I think, that are drawn to it are very artistic or actor types or musicians and things. So you're probably in your element there, then, I guess.
Well,
in that sense.
All my friends were involved in some projects, either singing or they were like actors playing in a theatre or whatever. It was really nice to like be in that sort of crowd at the moment. As a young person, you kind of feel this is where you should be, you know. So I was surrounded by people who had like that sort of ambitions, and luckily they all ended up well. You know, you see them on big screens or you listen to them on the radio, which is brilliant.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I was aware that some people had actually gone on to be really successful in their careers.
Yeah. So Scooter Caffe kind
of
bred.
I know also it's, you know, sometimes famous people are drawn to it. You know, pop in for a coffee or a drink.
Yeah, we did have quite a good bunch of, you know, people you would recognize from movies or you know, from other places, from big screen basically. Like Scooter Caffe was and still is in Waterloo, and as you know, there's like Old Vic nearby, and then you have the TV productions company nearby. So we did have lots of customers, but also guests coming round for like little catch-ups or interviews. So you would be surrounded by like interesting crowd. But this is it. Like, I've been working there, and it was all nice and comfortable, but at some point you feel like you need to like move on with your life.
Of course, yes.
And this is how I come up with the floristry, because I felt I need something practical, but also creative. So I felt like floristry
practical in the sense of pay the bills as well, you
exactly.
mean? Yes.
So I felt like floristry is like the most pleasant work in terms of like you work with these beautiful materials which look nice and smell lovely, and you know, you're surrounded by this beauty. So I felt like you can't get wrong with that, and I was right.
Yes.
So I've decided to like retrain myself and become a florist about 5 years ago.
Okay. Oh.
And then the referendum happened, and
Brexit.
Yes. And I remember that was the time where lots of my friends like kind of left the country, and there was that sort of, you must remember that, like kind of the negativity and depression. It was
very negative. There was uncertainty, and even, you know, for obviously Europeans, you say left. I think, but for a lot of British people like me, you know, I'd always considered myself as European. I'd grown up as part of Europe, and I was, you know, I was very, I mean, the country was split, obviously, but I was pro-Europe, and I was always I felt very depressed then, because I'm like, you're taking away our right to be European. It felt.
Yeah, well, this is it. Like when I was born, obviously I was a part of Europe as well, and it's just one of those. I mean, that was before Poland joined European Union. But when I was growing up, I always remember being able to travel and you know, just using my ID. So I think when the referendum happened and there was that split, that was the first time when I suddenly felt very much like a foreigner, you know, which...
Even in London you felt that,
did you? Yeah.
Okay.
I did, and I feel like I allowed myself to, like, feed out of that negativity, which I'm quite upset with myself, because that affected... You know, like I left London for 8 months.
I know you did. You did.
Yes, I had this try of coming back to Poland, and you know, I got a good job at the BBC, and I was supposed to I was supposed to like build my life again, but I wanted to be a florist, and I just felt like, you know, it wasn't the right time to become a florist in Poland, and I felt pretty much like I spent 4 years in London, and I came back to Warsaw, where I just felt like, you know, like lots of my friends were still there and my family, and I could participate in their lives, but I felt like I'm just watching their life, and my life was still in London. So
it turned out maybe you were a Londoner and you didn't realise it, perhaps.
Well, I realised that I really like being in London, and I really missed that, and I felt all my friends I've been building, you know, like I arrived here when I was like in early 20s, so I guess this is like a very important time for you when you like build important friendships, and it's like quite formative time as well.
Yes.
So when I moved back, it was my late 20s, so I was like, oh, actually I think I want to be in London. So 8 months later, I decided to like, I mean, I've decided much earlier, but I felt like I need to give it a go. Like I tried, but I wanted to be a florist. And as soon as I arrived back to London, I found my first floristry job within a week, which was brilliant.
Well, obviously, it was meant to be that you were to return in that
yeah.
case. Wow.
So that was really nice. That wasn't my first floristry work. Like before I left, I had like an experience on a flower stall, which was in Covent Garden, not New Covent Garden, but the old Covent Garden.
West End Covent Garden, yes.
So I felt like Eliza Doolittle. That was before I started my college, where I was training to become a florist. So I just basically wanted to be a florist, and I was like looking for the ways how I can learn. So I thought, well, you learn as you go, really. So I was like passing by this beautiful flower stall outside of this. There was like a Jubilee market.
Oh yes,
and there was this guy called Melvin. I think it was called Doolittle Florist, something like that. Flowers, Doolittle Flowers.
Okay.
And again, this is like
he talks to the flowers.
This is somebody who gave me that chance, like, because I asked. I was like he didn't know who I was, and I was just like there. He just took me on, like, out of the street. Wow. So that was quite, like, I appreciated that. I see this gentleman getting flowers at New Covent Garden every morning, like he's also cycling. So that was very important for me to like get this opportunity. And then I went to college because I want to learn different techniques. And then through that college, I got my work experience with a lady called Beverly, and I was very grateful for that. So having that allowed me to go and like pitch on myself and get maybe a different experience in a flower shop. So then when I came back to London, I got my flower experience at the place in Pimlico, which was called Flowers by Van Twisk. And Randall, the owner, taught me a lot. And it's quite funny because I always laugh about it. But, you know, he used to say, there's only one way of floristry, like my way, which I always felt it was like highly controlling.
Where was he from originally?
He was born and bred in London, but his father was from Netherlands. So this is where Van Twisk comes, which I think is a brilliant name for a flower.
Yes, it does sound very, it's just perfect.
Very original.
Fairy tale sort of name.
Yeah, it's one of those names you're like, oh, I should probably get flowers from there.
Yes.
Sounds like a trusted place. But anyway, I've learned quite a lot there, but
and of course, beautiful flowers. A lot of flowers come from Holland, obviously. Which
That's it, Most of the things we get from New Covent Garden actually comes from Netherlands, like from the auctions. I mean, different flowers grow in different places. You get like roses from Kenya or Ecuador. You get English blooms as well, which is brilliant. And I think after Brexit, people will be focusing on their homegrown more because of the prices. Now everything costs a little bit more as well, which is another downside.
Did you found things went the flowers?
Oh yeah. It's like, it's not just lockdown, it's also like Brexit prices, like the tulips and everything.
It's more administration now.
Totally. My answer to Brexit was to actually plant my own tulips. So I've decided
so not tulips from Holland, Amsterdam.
Hello.
Hi there. We're interviewing this young lady and finding out more about her floristry business. But that's all right. No, we can
come and join.
we can edit it out or keep it in, depending on how it all feels. But that was Dominic, who runs this place.
Yeah, Dominic, the manager.
Yes.
Nice to see your face. Anyway, just talking about when things happen. So I've decided, like, okay, things happen and you feel like you don't have any impact on it and you feel negative, depressed, but then you realize, no, you can do something about it. You can just like respond to it and you just have to like flow with the wave. And so my response to Brexit was to get the finest bulbs from Netherlands and plant them in Camberwell. So homegrown, locally grown tulips.
And you've got a garden, have you then?
So I've got my garden, but my garden was quite limiting. Like my neighbour could see me building new flower beds because my garden is like, has a little bit of flower bed and like soil, but then mostly there is concrete. So I had to build new flower beds.
Yes.
But my neighbours actually see me doing it and they offered their own garden. So I've planted 4,000 tulips for the spring.
No way.
Yeah. So I've been planting them before Christmas and they were like nicely protected.
You've got to get some good photos of that when they're all blooming.
Oh gosh, I went to visit them yesterday and I had like a very emotional moment when I saw my little babies poking through.
Wow,
and they were covered by I covered them with like a mesh, so they were protected.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to say against, but they were protected from the squirrels, which like I love squirrels, but
there's a lot of urban rodents and things.
Yeah,
and
like
even foxes in London and stuff as well. Yeah,
foxes. This is another thing. So they've been protected from squirrels in terms of I didn't want to plant the bulbs and then it's fine if the squirrel dig out few bulbs, but maybe I wanted to like keep. Like 3,500 for my customers. Like I covered that with the mesh. Now I could see the tulips were going through, so I opened that. But because I can see two big holes under the tree, which is neighbouring that garden, I know the foxes live there as well. So I actually built some fence
Just to keep them
away. I don't know if that's going to help, but I hope that the foxes will learn that there is a path and they can just go in between, but they shouldn't really crush my tulips. But yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to like see them in full bloom and be able to sell them. So the whole idea was to like, as you know, I'm like bicycle based. So I try to like cut down the emission as well. So I wanted to like grow things in Camberwell so I can deliver them on a bike, rather than like, take part in the whole game of getting them delivered via like, all the transport. Like every night there is like a massive cargo plane coming from Netherlands to England to get the flowers, which, I'm not saying I'm not taking part in that, because if you want to get any flowers,
but you're not adding to it.
I don't want to add to it. Yeah. So I still buy from New Covent Garden, because this is what you have to do. I mean, you can look for other suppliers, and in the future, I would like to be able to find people who can offer me flowers which have been grown in England, rather than
But it makes practical sense. You're saying you're going there on your bike, and it's 20 minutes. Did you say on your bike? I think you said. Yeah. Which is great.
Well, I guess as time goes by, you like come up with new ideas how to like help the situation, and I guess hopefully one day I'll be able to like maybe have my own farm where I just grow all my flowers and they sell them.
That will be when we have the second podcast, the catch up. But you've answered one of the questions for me I was going to ask, because I mean, obviously, as you say, you live in this area, so it's practical to sell into this area. But at the same time, you're environmentally conscious as well, and this is your neighbourhood, as you say.
What's that?
And this is your neighbourhood.
This is my neighbourhood. Yeah, I do try to be conscious. I mean, sometimes you fail because you have to make certain decisions, and I wish I could just be like 100% zero waste. I'm trying my best. I'm not using any plastic. I'm just like wrap my flowers in paper. Yeah. I actually gave up sellotape even recently.
No way.
I just use like piece of string, which is fine. And people appreciate that. Like people come back for that reason. Like I've got lots of customers who actually like that. Because I'm in a neighbourhood and people come to collect the flowers, you don't really have to have a cellophane, which you use to like aqua pack your bouquets when you do the deliveries, because people just live on the corner. So they take the flowers wrapped in paper, bring them back home straight away. If they want me to deliver flowers, I can still do that as well on my bike. I do deliver in South London. So again, it's like always like a 10-15 minutes travel. So the flowers won't die. I don't really need to have them wrapped in plastic with water in it. I just ask people to recut the stems and maybe keep them in a wrap for like first 20 minutes or half an hour, and but again, my flowers are quite like long lasting and hardy, so they're just not gonna die. They also look pretty when they dry, so there's no risk.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think perhaps, obviously, one of the things that lockdowns and the coronavirus has forced people to do is obviously stay local. And I think perhaps staying more local has reminded people to be conscious about, unnecessary travel, or obviously the environment in general in terms of wrapping and that sort of thing, and buying more locally. Yeah,
I guess, it's one of those like, what would happen if I was like, very, very successful in terms of, I would be able to send flowers nationwide, and then you have to find a ways of like, being able to deliver it. So I don't know what I would do then.
You just have a team of Olympic cyclists who just go around the UK.
Yeah, there are good companies like, Pedal Me or something, which are quite smart. They have this good electric bikes, and
we go.
They could deliver very fast. But at the moment, I don't have to think about it because everything is kept local. And I must say, it really helps. Lockdown is not the ideal, but I must say that it did help me to like get my customers, because if everyone was doing the usual thing from pre-pandemic, I don't know if I would have all those local coming to my stall.
People perhaps reacquainted with their neighbourhoods a bit more again.
Yeah.
You're part of their neighbourhood, I guess.
Well, this is it. I've noticed, like, trying to look at the bright side of the whole situation, which is not funny or easy or pleasant.
Well, just after you got over Brexit, and there's this to deal with.
Yeah. The bright side of a lockdown is, as we mentioned, is like people stay in the local areas, but also I've noticed like people talk to each other more openly because we all experience that sort of loneliness in a lockdown. And I've realized,
absolutely,
like, I lived in my neighbourhood for last 3 years before I lived in Brixton. Now I live in Camberwell, and only this year I feel like I've managed to develop certain like relationships with my neighbours because we spend more time in a garden, so we talk to each other through the fence.
You've now got how many flowers did you say? 5,000? No.
4,000 tulips.
Yes, in your neighbour's garden.
Which is in the heart of Camberwell, which is so amazing, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I mean, to be totally honest, they didn't have much of a plan for that garden either, so it kind of worked both ways. Like, they were very happy to have me there to like clean the whole thing. Like, it was full of weeds, like there was nothing growing, but then you have a beautiful paths, like basically massive beds full of weeds. So I just weeded it, did some work, planted all the bulbs, and now it looks very neat and looked after, and the neighbours are happy, I'm happy, and it's a great deal.
You're growing your own
and it's
flowers.
Just again
in South London.
Yeah, so I have my little farm.
Wow.
I call it a little Holland in Camberwell.
Maybe rename that part of London.
Yeah. You've got a little Venice, you've got a little Holland now. Which is it's great. Like, I love to see the growth. It's just not the growth of flowers, but also the growth of like the community and people who support you as well, and like help me to grow as well personally and business wise as well. Like, I started it as a survival kind of thing because when the pandemic happened, I knew the situation would change. I kind of lost how would I put it? I got furloughed, but then I knew I won't be able to come back to the shop where I used to work. So I just, knowing that, I thought, well, while I'm being furloughed, maybe I use that money into like investing into my plan B and my own business. So it started all as a trial, but it kind of developed in a way that I feel like I can make my living out of it, and that's brilliant. So there are two things. Like, when I knew I won't be able to come back to my flower shop, which I absolutely love, that was a place in Pimlico called Roka's Flowers. Again, another really lovely family-based run business. With very talented and very like chilled and funny people, so people you want to be around. So I spent last 2 years with them, but because we lost all our events, weddings, parties, which we relied on,
yes, of course,
the boss had to make certain decisions which were not easy for anyone, but I just knew, okay, this is a time when I just have to like grow up and take things in my own hands. And at first, I thought, okay, I'm going to retrain, so I become
retrain again.
So I thought, I tried to knock on everyone's door, and I knew everyone is in the same situation. Nobody's going to open the door for me.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, firstly, I'm going to retrain, so I become a tailor.
Okay.
So I started to make underwear for my friend.
Of course, I forgot you were doing a bit of that.
This lovely company called Little Black Pants Club, and she is situated in Brixton, and again, it's like very sustainable.
Yes.
We use organic materials and like organic cotton or bamboos, and everything is made from scratch. She pays London living wage, and I was able to learn new skills, and that was brilliant. But as I was doing it, I continue. I do it twice a week.
Okay.
But as I was doing it, I realized I really miss working with flowers. And every time I was like opening Instagram and I could see people making this amazing flower arrangements, it was like, I was so sad, like happy for them, but also like, you know, you feel like really, you miss something. I felt this longing. So then I've realized nobody's going to open the door for me in terms of like, hey, come and join our team in the flower shop, because nobody could offer that. So I felt like I'm going to open the door for myself. And this is how I ended up opening my flower stall in Camberwell first. And then I also moved to Cable Bakery as a second day. So yeah, since July 2020.
I can't have you on the show and not ask you, do you have a favourite flower?
Oh, wow. Favourite flower? I would love to say I'm very loyal to one, but I feel like it changes with the season.
Okay,
like,
yes.
you know, I definitely love tulips. Okay. Like, I know we're in spring, but I absolutely love tulips, the whole story behind tulips. And
well, we get that sense of all those tulips that you've got potentially growing.
Yeah,
to sell.
I do love tulips, and you know, like, I love the whole thing of tulip being like so highly desired in the past, like being in the price of a house in, like, I don't know, in a 200 years ago.
Of course, yes, there was that whole tulip
mania.
The whole the speculation in tulips.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and it comes in so many different varieties, and they're so also easy to grow, and they kind of look after themselves, and they stay for ages with you once you get them. So they are brilliant. They look beautiful, and they are long lasting. They're kind of reliable flowers.
Yes.
And they have this lovely movement as well. But again, then we come to the spring, and, you know, obviously, like, everyone loves peonies. I love peonies, but I think I absolutely love dahlias. So I love dahlias, again, because of the colors and the varieties they come in, the sizes. Then I do love chrysanthemum, which I only discovered recently. Like, I always look down on chrysanthemum, but because, like, in Poland, you use them, well, I guess because of the particular time when they grow, but we would, like, take them to the grave, you know, on the 1st of November, where you go to visit your relatives which passed away. So you bring a bunch of chrysanthemums. So for me, they were always like, associated with death. But actually, I absolutely love them, you know, like when you watch all this, like, Asian movies, and you see all these beautiful chrysanthemum bushes growing everywhere. Yes. This is absolutely stunning. And I only discovered, like, since I'm open and I go to the New Covent Garden, I could see all this different variety, big-headed chrysanthemums, you know. I just started to appreciate them. They're beautiful, you know. So yeah, I don't have a one favourite.
Yeah, so you're fond of tulips, but obviously, yes, like we're saying with the seasons, and I guess that, you know, obviously we're coming into spring, and you know, we're just seeing, obviously, the daffodils are out now, and we're seeing some of the sort of blues and the whites and things starting to sort of come through. And I guess, I tell you what, actually, for the first time I noticed last year in the local park was cherry blossom. I've never, whether it's because we were at home and you know, we're just taking time to exercise in the park, but for once I just actually noticed cherry blossom. I thought I've never noticed cherry blossom in London before. Wow. So I get the thing. Well, I get the seasonal element to an extent with, you know, with noticing spring flowers and things. And this year I've been walking. Been nearly a year now that we've been sort of in one place generally, and walking through Wimbledon Common, I've seen the change of the seasons now with, you know, with the trees and you know, the full in bloom and going bare again and
well,
things.
This is it. It's funny because you are obviously very fond of traveling, right? If I got it right. Yeah. So we travel to, like, get inspired and get new landscapes, and it's nothing wrong with that. It's brilliant. You learn, but the good thing about lockdown again is, like, you stay in one place and you have to find a ways of, like, daily entertainment. Yes. So you start looking for things which might inspire you, and this is it. This is suddenly you look around place which you thought you knew, and then you discover something new again. You know, which is always great, because, like, that's what people say. You know, if you wanna learn something new, just read the same book, and, you know, the second time you read the book you thought you knew, you always learn something new, you know. So it's the same I guess, with the area where you live.
And
like,
so,
I love walking around Camberwell, you see, and I feel like I know every corner, but I'm always surprised, you know, I always discover something new. So, or sometimes you pass by the same corner, but as you said, like, there is a new bloom appearing, or like new flowers started to blossom.
Yeah,
so,
and it's taking that time to stop and appreciate it. You know, obviously
definitely.
with cherry blossom, obviously that's an example because it is fleeting.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
that
that book, not just rushing through it. Okay, I'm rereading it, and now I'm going to appreciate that passage because I didn't really think about it before or something. So that's something. I think that's a lesson for all of us, just learning to sort of stop and pause, I guess.
Yeah, this is like applies to everything, like to every relationship as well, I guess. You know, like people get bored of each other and stuff, and I guess lockdown wasn't easy for like couples and stuff. But then people also could like grow closer to each other because like you spend more time together and you really have to face it and, you know, be in front of each other so closely that you start discovering new things, you know, the things you would never notice. So the same applies to a relationship with yourself, you know. Very often, like, people suffered because of, like, the lockdown. You have to, like, spend so much time with yourself, you know. There was not much distraction. But I think it was, like, a good exercise for everyone, you know. I'm not shaving as frequently now, and I'm just checking to see if Emma notices whether I have facial hair, and she's, you know, noticing or not. And she does seem to be noticing because she keeps commenting, "You're not shaving very often." Yeah.
She doesn't like beards, I think.
So you know you're getting a bit of attention.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And she's much more observant than me. Yeah.
Oh. Well, good test.
Yes. So. Okay, well, I think perhaps maybe we'll round it up there. But is there anything you wanted to say about yourself, business, London, and of course, just remind people as well where they can find the stall and find out more about you? We didn't get a chance to talk about some of your, well, we touched on your creative past, but I know you're still creative at the moment. So there's anything you just wanted to add or let people know on the show?
Provide information about myself. It's always easier if people ask, so I know which direction to go. Otherwise, I can just talk forever about myself. Where to find me? So Fridays, I'm at Cable Bakery between 9 and 3 o'clock, unless I'm sold out earlier.
Okay.
On a Saturday, I am at the Farmers Market in Camberwell, which is situated on the green. And we are there in a short window between 10 to 2 p.m. It's a lovely little, very cozy market where we have lots of regulars, which is amazing. They are the people which keep us going in business. We've got a lovely fruit and veg stall and meat stall as well. I think they are getting their own kind of meat which they've been farming. Then we have pasta stores, so you get latua pasta. We've got like a bread and pastry stall and a flowers, and then occasionally there is another lady who sells like Jamaican hibiscus, amazing drink, like a really spicy drink called Aldas. That's really nice to come and taste that. Yeah, what else? I am really trying to, as a part of my mission, as a RokaBringsFlowers, I really try to bring flowers to the area, not only on a Saturday. My dream is to open up a real flower shop in Camberwell.
Okay, wow.
We used to have one which has been running for about 50 years, Pesh Flowers, but that's been shut down, sadly, because of, you know, obviously they had a beautiful shop, but I guess there were certain, well, the rent basically went up, I assume.
Yeah, and then obviously their events went that they...
Exactly. So I would love to be the first person who brings flowers back on the market there.
That would be great.
And I feel like I've been like...
Maybe you could do coffee there as well.
Well, funny you said so. This is the business plan, really. Flowers and coffee to go. So I actually spoke to Craig O'Dwyer, who owns Cable Cafes, Tutor Cafe, and Cable Bakery. I actually been promised to get one of his vintage coffee machine as long as I'm getting his coffee beans. Which anyway, so yeah, this is the whole plan. Like I actually put an offer on a flower shop. and that's been accepted.
Wow.
2 months ago.
But that's an exclusive we have on the show then. Is
but sadly, that might change. Like for last 2 months, I keep hearing different news.
Right.
I've been promised twice already, and twice they change their minds, and then they are reconsidering that again. It's quite tricky to be able to open anything right now.
I mean, they're obviously worried about their certainty of rent and these sort of things, I guess.
I mean, I thought it would be my time, because it's like, obviously there are amazing shops, but they are really, really, like they're just big and expensive in Camberwell, which I wouldn't be able to afford. But I was looking for something really small and visible on the green, which I could, just make enough to pay the rent, but also be able to serve the community more than once a week. Because for now it's like, oh, it's sweet, I can like come to the area once a week, so people have a top up and stuff. But when there are other occasions, like on a Monday or Tuesday, I have to turn people down, and they have to like try to get the flowers from somewhere else, and I feel really sad about it. I can't really provide those flowers for them. So this is what I would love to do. This is my dream, to be able to run a flower shop, and I feel I would be good at it.
I think you might. I think you've proven you might do well at it. And and social media and things. You're on Instagram. I know that for sure. You share pictures on Instagram if people want to find out more beyond just listen to the audio. Okay,
you can find me at RokaBringsFlowers.
Well, that's easy then, yes.
That's as simple as that. If you want to keep updated, I am trying to post something every day or every second day, hopefully that's not too much. And I post pictures of plants, flowers, and people. And mostly the customers who buy from me, if there is something which inspires me. So
wonderful.
I guess that's it.
Wonderful.
That's the story.
Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks again to Roka for the lively conversation. To learn more about Roka, her flower pictures and other things mentioned in this episode, check out the show notes at my website, marriottssidetrips.com. That's MARRIOTTS sidetrips.com. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or your favourite podcast service, of course. Also, if you'd like to travel better, sign up to my newsletter through my website and you'll receive a free ebook, Essential Checklist for the Modern Day Traveller. There's still some great guests to come for my London season, including a French musician who's been doing her best to play on, a Peruvian brother and sister team serving up their street food in Waterloo, and the landlord of my local pub. Take care and chat very soon.